Welcome to a mindfulness experience with access to Integrative Medicine Health Institute, the GW Office of Integrative Medicine and Health, and the GW Resiliency and Well-being Center. AIM is the first 501c3 nonprofit in the Washington, D.C. metro area to provide integrative medicine services to low income and terminally ill patients, regardless of their ability to pay. The office is a global leader in integrative medicine, focusing on professional development and community outreach events like this one. The center takes an evidence based whole person approach to the health and wellness well-being services it provides to the GW Medical Enterprise, that's the School of Medicine and Health Sciences, GW Medical Faculty Associates, and GW Hospital. Today we have with us Dr. David Gaseor. Dr. Gaseor is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. He is a 14th generation EMI, or is that ME, Qigong teacher and healer. He's also a nationally certified and licensed acupuncturist and herbalist. David is giving the wellness talk and leading us through the mind body session. David, welcome to a mindfulness experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janet, Misha, GW, AIM, everybody. So happy to be here. And you did a good job with that pronunciation, most correctly because Chinese is tonal and very strange. It's Erme they put an R in there and you never would have guessed it. So that is a mountain all the way in China. But thank you for that great introduction. I learned Qigong many years ago. It's what got me into Chinese medicine, and now it's really become a passion of mine. So it's so good to be with all of you here today. I've got a slide presentation, but it's pretty dynamic, not a lot of writing. We're going to do more visuals and things like that. So Janet and I tried to test it before we started with all of you. So hopefully we see a dog and a computer. Can I get a thumbs up, Janet? Does that look right? Yes. And then if we switch it, we see some tools. Is that still looking good? Beautiful. All right, everybody. Oh, and I'm getting a lot of thumbs up. You guys are better at Zoom than I am. So these are definitely stressful, busy times. Injury, illness, or just turning on the news is kind of part of life where anxiety and illness can crop up. And it's such a great thing that this group exists. Much thanks again to Misha and everybody who's putting this on. So I'm so excited to be here to share with you guys some different tools. And tools are, of course, a force multiplier. You can dig in the sand, you can use a little shovel or a big excavator, or you can even use your hands, and you're going to get a different result. So it's important to know different tools that are available. And today I'm going to share with you something that is new, but it's new to you. It's actually going back close to 800 years. I know GW is close to their 200-year anniversary, or I think this year it is, but think about that. It's an 800-year-old lineage. This was the very first teacher, Bai Yuan, who during the Southern Song Dynasty was a Taoist former soldier and traveled to the top of Mount Ermei, where he meditated and fasted and created this system of healing. It was then passed on the mountain until that lower box here, we see World War II. Flash forward to the 11th lineage holder, and he had a vision, an idea that during the battle that there would be a destruction of the temple and the monks. So he left, and a silver lining of that whole war and of that experience that the temple was destroyed was then the material started to open up. In addition to a monk, there was also a layperson who carried on the knowledge. And all the way at the very top, my teacher was the 13th generation, I'm the 14th, and today all of you are now part of this 15th generation of material, which has gone through. So Qigong is something that I know your group has talked about before. And to break it down, if you look here, the definition in a dictionary, or if you were to look at it on a computer, would say something like breathing exercises. But we'll go a little bit more in depth with some concepts that might broaden your understanding and your cultivation. So this is the character for Qi. Understand that Qi in ancient China was related to many, many different things. The character is something like steam. And if we look at this picture, we could see that it represents almost everything in the environment. There's great energy here in the trees, in the mist, and even coming in through the sun. Simply, chi could be thought of as the essence of matter and all matter, but it can be applied in different specialized ways. They looked at the movement of the stars. They understood weather, the seasons, and direction. They also then looked at the formation of a Chinese calendar to track time, the yin and yang of the days, and the hours of where and how the qi flows in the body. That then led to the study of medicine, how they understood the body and how it worked, dysfunction, and then correcting it with healing. It's very systematic. It goes into great depth. There's some very famous Chinese classical books that look at politics, philosophy, even law, all related to qi. Literally, it is everything. Qi is all energy and thus all life and all matter. So gong on the other hand, same word, but different meaning. Gong is related to different achievements over time through cultivating and practicing methods that affect qi. So just like how a garden, you're going to bring in different light and soil nutrients and water, think of the body and your practice. This is something that builds over time upon itself. And there's two different dimensions to it. There's internal work, there's different meditations and external forms, which are very popular and very common. You may have heard terms like Neigong, Ne being inside and Weigong being outside. There's just different ways to reach the top. And there's many different health practices that incorporate very similar things, Tai Chi, meditation, Reiki, traditional yoga. And many concepts have been included in different programs. Some of I think that you guys have studied, like MBSR or at the Center for Mind-Body Research, and shared by other Westernly trained doctors and specialists. This, though, is kind of part of that source material that was originally built upon. The evidence-based is part of an unbroken lineage, so it is truly my great pleasure to share it with you today. So with life stressors or with strong emotions, they have an effect on the body. We can see from these little characters here, the mind-body connection. So let's firstly talk about the idea of being grounded and what that means. This is my teacher. He's the 13th lineage holder, and he's in a very good ready position. In comparison to those other figurines that we saw, his feet are planted on the ground. They're about shoulder width apart, and the body is in alignment. This concept of being grounded and steady and strong. And keep in mind that you can also do this while seated. You can think about how you're seated right now. Maybe there's some pain or discomfort. You can try to get yourself into alignment, and your ready position, you can engage that at any time or in any way. The feet in particular, it's important if they're either parallel or we might have the toes pointed in, if comfortable. You always want to listen to your body. I was working with a patient last week, and try as he could, he says, "Oh, my feet just don't have that flexibility." I said, "You know what? Don't worry about it. It's not that important." And in Qigong, we're actually learning to follow the qi or the energy of our body and the environment. But what you can do when the feet are parallel, as opposed to other practices, maybe where the toes are pointed out, is it creates an energetic circle with the shape of the feet. That energy is going to stay in that body when you're doing your standing or sitting practices, when you're doing your meditative movements, any sorts of different things. These are small, little, subtle tweaks that you can make. If again, the toes are out, the energy goes out, which could be useful in other circumstances. But today in our cultivation, again, be parallel or toes a little bit in, and you can imagine that circle and then let it go. This point is the lowest acupuncture point on the body, and it helps connect us to the earth. One of its names is Earth Push, and it has a few other Qigong names, but this is a very important point that helps us get grounded. Kind of like the plant being rooted, we can envision ourselves and how we're rooted too to connect with the earth. And in big and small ways, we really are drawing in energy through the lens of Chinese medicine through the earth. So in this very busy image, note at the bottom how the energy from the earth connects with the body and then travels up the legs. From that point, it's going to join what we call the central channel. This is an area in front of the spine, and it both initiates and collects energy. It stores and distributes all the different energies of the body, both the genetic and stored, what we would call pre-birth energy, and then the food, water, air that you bring in, the post-birth energy. There's always a commingling and a mixing, and lots of different schools and lots of different practices have different names for these different energy areas and centers in the body. At the very top of the body is another point that we use both in acupuncture and Qigong. It's that heaven's door point at the very top. Yin energy comes in through the feet, through the body, and out of the top of the head. But the converse and opposite is also true. With the top of the head and with heaven's door, we're connected with the energy of the universe. So in that sense, yang energy can come in through the top of the head and down to the earth. So realize just by standing and being aware of these points on the body that we are connecting and we are getting grounded. Now, a useful key is specifically having to do with the foot here. If you apply just a little bit of pressure on the forefoot, and again, you can do this right now while you're seated or later on when we're standing. If you do a bit of a leaning forward, you're going to engage that point on the bottom of the foot with the earth. And you can also have that mind intention. When we have a mind intention, we like to set it and repeat it a few times, and then you can let it go. But then what about the mind? So oftentimes when you're trying to do a seated meditation or even moving meditations, there's a lot of different thoughts that can come in. So it is useful. Another helpful key and trick is to use the mind and to focus it on parts of the body. In Qigong, this is very important. The lower abdomen or the lower dantian comes up in many different practices. This is a point that is just below the navel. So if you want to, you can kind of notice that sensation of putting your hand on that lower abdomen, that lower area, and be mindful of your breathing. Having natural, relaxed breathing and a calm mind is very, very helpful. It's a good way to get grounded and to be in that space. Conversely, we take in so much information through our eyes. So it's useful to soften your gaze or relax your eyes or to even close them. It can be kind of a radical separation from the busyness of the day or whatever we're dealing with, to take that moment, to take that break. And during the Qigong practice that we do later on today, keep that in mind. Soften your eyes, and if you feel comfortable, you can close them too. And that will help again to bring your awareness and your intention into the body. One more useful tip is to go ahead and to connect the tongue. The tongue in our practice, we put to the top of the mouth. And I know different schools have different placements, but for us, a very simple one to remember is anywhere just behind the top of the front teeth. So anywhere along there. I know different yogic and different practices have it in different locations. So if you're used to practicing a different way, that's okay too. So these are just some of the many concepts that will help us in our practice, and you can use them just to take breaks day to day. But what if we're tired, or we're experiencing some of those different strong emotions, or we're a little bit out of balance, like here the water is causing problems with the wood? Realize this very popular image is not really what the day-to-day state of the body is. Things are always shifting and moving and in different proportions. It's a very active and dynamic state in space. So we need another tool and concept. This one in particular is so very helpful to wake up or to shift your state, either mentally or physically. If there's something that you feel like you need to clear and or rebalance, this dog and Taylor Swift shaking it off definitely have the right idea. But again, I did not create this. This is part of a very, very old school and canon. This comes from the massage for internal organs of the Herme Treasure Lotus canon. That old gentleman in the very first slides, Bayou One, he was the one who initially recorded this. So the essence of this form really is to connect with and to follow the natural chi. Again, remember, everything in the universe is shaking and vibrating and connected together. What's fascinating too in my school is that we also use mantras or healing sounds to vibrate the energy as well. So in this section, we talk about this physical vibration, but maybe next time I can teach, if you guys are interested, different sounds and different tones that can achieve similar concepts. So from our ready position, we remember that and we're engaging that point on the bottom of our foot. We're going to use our hands, which are so very sensitive, the fingers and the hands and the palms themselves. Specifically, there's a Lao Gong acupuncture point. You can just envision it in the center of your palms. And we're going to separate that out on the body. There's going to be a point above the navel, which is connected again to the stomach, which is that post-birth energy. And then that pre-birth energy, like we talked about before, it's that lower dantian. So we're going to use both palms above and below on the abdomen. Specifically for men, we're going to have that right hand going above the navel. And for women, that left hand, we're going to place that in the position above the navel. And for people non-binary and trans, please follow the chi and whatever resonates for you. Here I've got the navel line marked, so anywhere above or below, make contact and press gently. So when we're going to do this movement, the hands are going to be static against the body. Gentle pressure, but not too much. And please note that we caution against practicing this, especially if you want to share it with others, family, and friends. Acute broken bones, that vibrating, in fact, we do a test where you tap to figure out where the broken bones are. It's not going to feel good if you have a very acute broken bone. And then certainly be very cautious about anything that you're doing in the first and third trimesters of pregnancy. So what we'll do from this position is a slight bouncing or a jogging motion, almost like a mini trampoline. And it will give you lots of the same benefits. We're going to initiate the blood and the chi and the lymph and the fluids all together, moving and activating. This is a self-vibration movement, and we call it the beginning of chaos. And this is more coming from the Greek cosmology understanding of the whole universe, where it's this idea of going to a state before ideas had been formed. Things are not differentiated. This is even before yin and yang. So we're trying to go from first that static ready position to initiating that movement, the start of all things here. But it is a controlled movement. It's not a chaotic movement, but we initiate it and then we follow the movement. After a few minutes, though, we will separate the hands out in front of the body. This we do call the yin and yang distinction of Tai Chi, the fact that now we're going to separate and create something from that void. So initially there's this void, and then we have a thing, and now we're differentiated, thing and no thing, inside and outside. Maybe you guys have seen the stylized Tai Chi circle with a brush stroke. From that position then too, the movements of yin and yang are created. Remember, this is a very dynamic, fluid, and flowing motion. So when doing this movement here, we're going to think about the palms as we bounce. Initially, when the palms were connected to the abdomen and the lower abdomen, we're just thinking about the body, the shaking movement of the body. Here, when we differentiate out, we've identified yin and yang and up and down. And the palms are naturally going to adjust. As you're bouncing, sometimes the palms will be up, sometimes the palms will be down, but we're not initiating that movement. And if there's no movement, that's okay too. This is just a natural rebalancing of the body, the left, the right, above, below, yin and yang. It's a very powerful healing form, in fact. So between days to days and practices, and if we all do this with our cameras on, and you don't have to, don't feel compelled to, you'll notice that some people are maybe bouncing a little bit faster and some are a little bit slower. Sometimes you're jogging or bouncing, sometimes they're big movements and sometimes they're smaller movements. And when we separate out the hands, you'll notice sometimes the hands are higher or lower. And then two, if you are really able to get into that meditative state that we're aiming for right out of the gate, the hands might do things that are not purely up or down. The less we can think about it, actually, the better. So the hands might come up more or down, side to side. Don't feel like it's important to follow me or anybody else as you do this practice. This is your own personal healing prescription. So day to day and season to season, things are changing. We know that, both the external and the internal. So after a few minutes, we're relaxing the hands in front of the body. We'll keep that jogging motion going. And here it is. There's that separation. The upper hand going down, the bottom hand going up. But we continue that bouncing and jogging motion. Everything that we're going to do today is very fluid, from the point where we start the bouncing and then at the end when we stop the bouncing, and especially the transitions. For Qigong, for that energy to be very fluid and connected, we want there to be gradual startups and then a gentle, gradual finishing. So here, both of his hands are down, and he's just following the chi without any mind intention. The hands are both facing down, and the body actually does start to move a little bit here, side to side. He's just following the energy and what is natural. We call it a ziran. It's a naturalness cultivation. And the chi feeling, that feeling of following the chi, is Ling Wu. We'll have a slide in a little bit about that. But importantly, it is the chi that is directing the body movements and the brain signals. This is truly the essence of Qigong. Tai Chi are a lot of prescribed movements that you follow and repeat, different numbers of forms, time and time again. And eventually you can turn the brain off and you're no longer thinking. But with the Qigong, we try to aim for that flow state. I've heard different writers talk about it, and it's this concept of an expert in the grace of their craft. And this particular form that we're doing is kind of a micro of a macro. It's actually the start of a longer form. And this is one that I've been doing almost every day for 17 years. I'll do this form or another form every day. So there's a whole lot that you can gain from it. And it is important that it's at the very beginning. Usually the first part of the book or the chapter has some important information, and this is no different. And here is that slide I was telling you about: Ling, meta-intelligence, Wu, enlightenment, and Ziran. It's again, both the goal for this small practice and then the bigger practice of being able to notice the chi sensations in our body and then to follow them, and having wisdom in that sense, both inside and outside. This leads to a rebalancing then of the body. Whatever is out of balance is holistically connected to all of the other elements in the body. And they are moved into a balanced flow state. Once you're able to do that, that can then come into existence. Again, do not underestimate this practice. It is a very powerful healing one. Our proverb says 1,000 times vibration drives away 100 kinds of diseases. And today we're going to follow along a recording that keeps beat with a little wooden fish. I don't know how small my video is, but it's a little wooden temple fish that's beating like a drum. And there's some nuns and monks that are chanting a sutra in the background. But no music is needed. And then when you're practicing this outside on your own, you can use whatever music you'd like. So everything inside of us and around us is vibrating and moving all of the times. And our emotions and thoughts also have power too. So at this time, if you'd like to set an intention while we get into that ready position and repeat it a few times, that would be wonderful. So feel free to get into that ready position, either standing or seated, and clear the mind. But for your monkey mind, do be aware that this practice is going to take about 8 minutes, if that helps. So I'm going to connect an audio here to the computer, and I'm going to get myself into a ready position. Remember, we're going to want the feet parallel or a little bit turned inward.
Meta intelligence, enlightenment, and pure naturalness cultivation. Ready position. Stand upright with your feet shoulder width apart. Relax, calm down, and clear your mind. Connect your tongue with upper palate. Focus on your lower dantian, which is below your belly button. Part 1. Self-vibration. First, beginning of chaos. Bring your palms to your lower dantian and stomach. Separate the hands at belly button. Loose up your whole body and begin to jog. Second, yin-yang distinction of Tai Chi. Let go of your hands naturally and allow them to move to the front of your body. Continue the jogging and turn the palms freely as your chi directs your brain signals. Slow down gradually and return to ready position.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get this back to that camera. Start my share again. Don't know if that went through. Let me do it one more time. There we are. So before we conclude, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to come off mute. I think, Janet, if people are allowed to do that, however we normally ask questions here, I'd be happy to answer any of them, or if you want to share a little bit about your experience today.
Go ahead and unmute yourselves if you have a question.
I have a question.
Please.
This is Lynette. You stated earlier in your presentation about the bouncing and what exactly the bouncing does. I mean, from the feet connects to the earth, but does that make the chi come up from the earth throughout your whole body, and the shaking and the bouncing of the hands?
Absolutely. When we're connecting with our bodies, when we have our palms and we're connected, because I know different teachers or different schools, I think there's even a practice of ecstatic dance, use different concepts like this. But here in this particular style of Qigong, we're connecting with both that pre-birth energy in the lower dantian and that post-birth energy up in the stomach. And when you shake and vibrate, it's all of the energy. The answer to your question is yes, it's your internal energy and it's the outside energy. So this is a great practice. It aids in digestion. It's really useful. Again, I've had people that have come in and they just need a tool that can help them shift state. They're in a certain way, they're in a funk, they're kind of stressed out, or maybe they've got a little bit of a pain and they want to do something. They're here and they want to shift that. They want there to be a change. So this uses many different principles. Again, there's a Western way of describing it, an Eastern way of describing it. And I think a lot of them are true. You're refreshing the blood, you're jiggling, you're cycling. Everything is kind of getting activated. You're initiating that energy. It's almost like you're shaking up a bottle, and then things are getting realigned and kind of yeah, just set up in the body. That's a good question. So yes, you've got it. And you're absolutely right. In a more subtle sense, there are connections to the ground and to the energies of the universe. It's a little bit more in the Qigong world, but you can think about the polarities of the body, that bioelectric energy. There's layers upon layers of understanding in theory that kind of go into this. That's a great.
So you say you do this every day?
This is a great practice to do every day. So I'm doing a Qigong practice every day. Where I am with my cultivation, going out and teaching and sharing this with people, it's really important to do it every day. Uh, I was doing this particular form, a longer version of it. This one just initiates the energy. So if Misha's on for the rest of it, I've got a brief closing, but if he's here, then we'll have to push it till next time. But if he's not, I can introduce some more of the movements and some more of the concepts. Now that we've woken up and activated that energy, we then go through the different parts of the body, these big joints where oftentimes things get stuck. Like shoulders, will then go into the upper body, what we call the heaven portion. So the above portion are the shoulders. And then the earth. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Lynette.
No, so I do Tai Chi like 6 days a week
Nice.
and in the mornings. And so is this something that I should try to do before Tai Chi or after Tai Chi, immediately after Tai Chi or immediately before Tai Chi?
Anything. I wouldn't put too strong of a mind that it's got to be here or there. I encourage you to practice and to try out different ones. Some
Okay.
people, when they're doing Qigong or Tai Chi, you've probably seen it in your classes. Some people, after they've done the form, maybe they're energized, or maybe they're tired, or maybe they're hungry. Everybody has different reactions. We're all in different states. We all have a different combination of those 5 elements, and there's a whole lot of different factors, but it's awesome to see. I encourage you to try it out.
Well, so I can actually do it in the afternoon or the evening as well, right?
Sure, of course, anytime, anytime.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a great question. No, my pleasure. Uh,
David, Misha had to leave, so you can do as you like until 3 p.m.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll keep an eye on it. That gives us another 17 minutes. So what I can do is I can finish up a little bit of what we talked about today here, and then I will, Lynette, I'll get right into a little bit more of the next exercise, because it's a really good time now, it being autumn, that's related in Chinese medicine to the lungs. So working some of the upper body, that's both the heart and then the lung area. It's really good to help transition that. The heat from summer, we can help clear that out with some of these exercises. And then a lot of what we do, if we're reading or on the phone or stressed out driving around the DMV, there's a whole lot of tension in the neck and in the
And the neck. I got it right now.
Absolutely. We're
So,
going to do some work on that.
I want to have, thank you very much for that.
I'm glad. Well, I'm sorry that you guys are going to miss out on Misha, but Lynette, I'm so happy to be able today to get into the next set of movements. But I do want you to be kind to yourself. Again, this is a process of discovery, like your question. Try it at different times. Be childlike. Meet yourself where you are. And I also love that there's a kid in this picture, because kids and grandkids love this form. They love this practice. They're sometimes having too much energy, or they're in a funk and they need to shift it a little bit. I've had lots of students come back after learning just this first part, and they take it and they're teaching it that night, and the kids are normally laughing. If we were all in person and we were doing this, you might feel a little silly doing this strange movement. So normally people are laughing, and then at some point somebody, since it's so good for digestion, they might start belching or passing gas, normally me, and then people laugh even more. So it's kind of nice we're on Zoom and we're in our own homes and kind of can experience it in our own way. Something else that speaks to your point about when do you practice it. So something that I'll do, since sometimes I'll do this form or other longer forms, is after I eat, whenever my meals are, I'll set either an hour or an hour and a half that I've digested enough that I could do more of a physical form. Other people, though, I know they set reminders if they've got a job where they need to work a lot at a desk or anything. If you're just trying to incorporate more movement into your day, you don't even need a smartwatch like what some people have. You can just set that reminder every hour, every 2 hours, to remind yourself to get up and to have some nice gentle movement. So this is good, again, for the young, for the old. This is great depending upon what different diseases you have. If you can only tolerate a little bit of low impact, no stress exercise, this is an awesome one, truly. And so here is my teacher and I. Importantly, we remember that perception to keep things light and to have fun. So I'll exit out of this screen share, and we will get into the next part of the practice. So let me then switch to this camera. So Lynette and everybody else, this is for you. So after we've initiated that energy, we go back to our ready position. And again, just like how the vibration and how some of these slight movements, how the difference between here and here in activating and connecting to the earth and to ground can make a subtle difference. The first movement when we're trying to do work with the shoulders is a slight lowering and depression of the shoulder. So if you look at my left shoulder, it's a very small movement. The left shoulder goes down, and then the right shoulder goes down, and then comes back up. And we're only stretching and lengthening the arms as we go down. We're not raising the shoulders, and it's a very gentle opening. It stretches, and with your mind intention, you can imagine the energy going all the way down to your palm, and then it can come all the way back up to the other one, and then down on the right side, and up again. Something that might help you with this movement is if you think about the scapula in the back, it's the scapula going down on one side and the scapula going down on the other side. That's what's initiating the movement. It's the scapular depression. There it is, side to side. And it's a very small, gentle movement. And so after we've done that to create some space and open things up, then we're going to do small shoulder rotations. So with the left shoulder, back, down, and around. I'm going to do this 3 times. Back, down, and around. And then we'll switch to the right shoulder. Again, this is Qigong. It's not just calisthenics. So go ahead and think about the palms. You can think about the arm, the whole arm, or you can think about the palm. What we say is the Qi and the Li and the Yi are all connected. The Qi, the energy, the mind intention, and power are all connected. So when we start to use our mind to focus, then it becomes more like a meditative movement. It's also going to amplify the effect. So again, the left, we'll do some more circles going back. And then to the right. And again, this is only in one direction, back, down, and around, but we're alternating left and right. Let's do 3 more on the left side.
So this movement is coming from the scapula too?
It is. And it's, again, it's a very small circle. That's a great question, but we're about to open it up. We're going to do some larger circles too. This will be the last on the right. And then we're going to do larger. Actually, here we'll do them both together. We'll do both shoulders, back, down, and around. It's a little bit of a challenging movement. Always listen to your body. That's number 1. Normally, you'll notice a difference between one side and the other side. Maybe you'll hear or feel more gritches, and that's okay. Pay attention to it. Your body's giving you useful information. And of course, when you feel comfortable, if you soften your gaze or even close your eyes, that can bring you more in touch with your body and what you're feeling. And we'll do 2 more. And then we'll do larger circles where the palms go in front of the body. And anywhere above the head, we'll open them up. Let me change my camera a little bit. Okay. So the palms are going to go in front of the body. Anywhere over the head, you can open them up and then bring them down. And here, have your mind intention be on the palms. And these are slow connected movements. This isn't that chicken airplane rocket of trying to do the backstroke. Instead of having it be like a perfect T, you can imagine the palms making circles a little bit. These are ovals. Kind of soften the edges of the movements, just like that gradual beginning and transition. Gradual changes here. Feeling when the arms come up is almost like wood as it floats in water. They open up and sink. So the hands are rocks, slowly falling down. And for my school, at this point, we just say, breathe naturally. Don't feel like you have to have your breath follow one movement or another. If it's happening naturally, let it happen. But as much as we can relax and just notice the body and focus on the chi sensations, maybe a little bit of that warmth or tingling or magnets when our hands come together or go apart, that's what we want to focus on. And this next time when the palms come together, we're going to stop halfway. And with the scapula, we're then going to reverse the process. So they're going to sink down in front, come out to the sides. The palms are facing down. Then again, anywhere above the head, they'll come together and they'll face each other, go back again. do one more, and then we're going to do a visualization at the very end here. So on this last circle, we'll open up the palms, we'll have them go above the head. And then for men, have your right hand above. For women, have your left hand above. Have it be above that heaven's door on the top of your head. Line up your hands and envision a white light coming down from the sky, down from all the different stars of the universe. I know we just had a full moon like yesterday. So that bright white light, and then you feel it collecting at the top of your hands. You're feeling it gathered there. And then let's do a visualization. We're going to have that white light come down through the palms, through the top of the head, through that central channel, down to the lower dantian. And we're going to do that 3 times. 1, bring that energy down. Now let's settle to the lower dantian. And again, 2, the top of the hands through the body, down to the lower dantian. And the 3rd time there, energy coming through the hands, through the top of the head, down the central channel to the lower dantian. And at the end, go ahead and bring your hands forward, down along your midline, on the front of the body. And then when you come to your lower dantian, let them separate out and go back to your ready position. And so feel free to use those particular exercises at any time. You don't have to do the self vibration first, but it can help if you are just at your desk or if you're waiting in line at the store, anything like that. You can open up the shoulders a little bit. Again, it's a subtle enough movement that you're not doing weird things in line. You're not going to freak people out. So just open up and relax the shoulders just a little bit. And again, the key is the mind and the mind intention. If you're stretching and opening the shoulders, that joint, that scapula, you're going to change it. You're going to notice a difference. Again, Qigong we talked about is this practice over time. So some of you, you've talked about practicing Tai Chi or doing different meditations. You might feel different sensations perhaps than some other people, but keep practicing and you absolutely will notice things. I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat. I don't know if any of those comments are for me, but anybody else, if there's anything, please feel free.
I just want to say, this is Lynette again. I really like that last upper part because I was having this serious pain on the right side of my neck and shoulder, and it has diminished a lot. So I will be doing that every day too.
Lynette, you and I have never met before.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that's something. Yeah, these exercises and these movements, they're subtle but powerful. It's easy just to think that they're all the same, these different things. That's wonderful. I love that feedback. That is absolutely great.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Oh, ask your questions via the chat window. Earth, push, bubbling spring. Yes, one and the same. Yes, oftentimes different acupuncture points, different schools or lineages, different translations will come through, but absolutely. That is a good key, important question. Let's see. Yeah, everybody can see that question. So I've talked to people about this, and they'll just be sitting and they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit stressed out. Just bringing your awareness and a little bit of the feet going on the gas. If you just connect that front of the foot to the earth a little bit and start paying attention to your breathing, slowing it down, there's a very quick, fast pivot that can happen right there. So it's a powerful acupuncture point. One and the same, and consciously engaging that makes a huge difference. Again, your ready position, all the movements that we've done today, you can do seated, and they're very powerful as well. Excellent, Elisa, thank you. And, oh, there's Misha, he's in, and then he's going to discuss again. And we've got 2 minutes. Vaccines. Again, that's Misha. All right, good. Misha's given you, please, everybody, if you haven't, check out the chat. He's left some useful links for you guys. And it looks like he's going to see you next Friday. Okay. Jumping into a task, get grounded. Yes, yes. You and everybody else, Jennifer. And it's very common. There was somebody that I taught that simple grounding technique to, who had been practicing acupuncture years longer than I had, a decade longer than me. And she was trying to meditate and trying all these different things. Sometimes it's just a slight adjustment, either of your posture, your feet. Maybe your feet are a little bit out too much. Maybe that energy that you want to kind of collect and calm and ground, maybe that's going out. So these are little things that you can incorporate both in this practice and then in perhaps some others too. So just a few more seconds. Thank you. Grounding, relaxed. Great. Yes, do this outside. I love to do this outside. You can be barefoot, you can have shoes or sandals, socks, anything. Try facing different directions. There's some more advanced ideas of thinking about the chi of the different directions, like what we were talking about in one of the earlier slides. So inside, outside, when you travel, all these little distractions that you might notice provide good practice opportunities. So everybody, thank you. Thank you for your awesome questions and for joining me today. And then next time we can maybe talk about a few more things in the school or system.
I know it was too long a post, but I was wondering if you had any suggestions for making the assessment of when you're basically by forces out of your control, out of time. How do you make the assessment of when you still have to do it and be late and when you just have to wait?
That is really at the crux, I think, of like this higher level Qigong practice. It's knowing when to follow, when to separate it out, because according to the different 5 elements of what we have and different natures, if you think of perhaps too much of the water element, if that's a little bit out of balance, then maybe there's some fear. If there's a little bit more of the wood element that could be out of balance, that could tend towards anger. So doing practices, doing cultivation, learning the difference between following the chi and then just noticing something that's out of balance. So that comes with time and with practice. And I think that that's something that you always do work on. It's learning how to follow the right messaging. So that is definitely a complex question, but as my teachers have told me before, do more practices. That's always the answer. Do more meditation, do more practices. There is a way to tell. The more that you do, the more clarified and rarefied those different messages are that will come through. So you're at least you're aware of it. That's number one, being aware. And then perhaps then you can get a little bit of distance from it. If it's all you see, then it can be a bit more challenging, but like taking some space from it. Sometimes writing things down just starts that process. And there's a separate one in my school called Transferring Clear. When there's a lot of an emotion, if it always tends to default towards one particular element, to clear that out. If just a seated meditation is a little bit more challenging, then we can do some work to get that change to happen a little bit more quickly. But that's a very good higher level question. Again, being aware of it, you're on the right track, and keep doing whatever you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Picking up the toddler.
Namaste.
Okay, everyone. I think we have had a wonderful mindfulness experience. And David, we will be asking you back, and we hope you can come back. Probably not until the new year.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
I look
All
forward.
right. And everybody, I'll have links on how you can contact David if you'd like to contact him after this session, or just if you'd like to just go follow his websites. Have a wonderful weekend. I don't know about the weather up here, but things are cooling down here on the South Carolina coast. So I'm a very happy girl.
All right. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Take care, all.
Be well, everyone.